No, you're good.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. All right, MYB community, thank you for coming back to us for episode number 235 of the Minding Your Business podcast, entrepreneurship, real estate, trending news. There's no business like minding your own. We're recording this on December the 28th of 2020. Hope that you enjoyed the Christmas holiday for those that celebrate the Christmas holiday, or if you're celebrating Hanukkah or any other holiday or period of time that you celebrate. Hope that you're enjoying that as best you can with you and your family. Subscribe to the podcast, 5 star, wherever you get your pods. That helps us continue to grow the MYB community. And of course, you can always find me at champronbrooks.com. Again, hope you guys coming off a great weekend. I certainly did. Had a great weekend with family and with friends and with my daughters. My daughters got new bikes. Presented to them, which they really enjoyed, and got a chance to see them ride and that sort of thing. So that was always fun. Reminded me of being young and being a child. It's funny how fast life can move. That's one of the things that came to mind is you go from riding the bike to then helping others be able to ride. And that's kind of a nice way to lead into my guest in terms of riding and then helping others to be able to ride and navigate landscape. That's what our guest today does. Basically every day. Abdi Hassan joins us. He is the co-founder of Top Figure and the Top Figure podcast. We met, and this is the power of social media, which we're going to talk about today. He and I connected. He was actually on stage in Clubhouse, which we're going to get to for those of you that are familiar with the Clubhouse app. And I reached out to him, DM'd him, and we were able to do this podcast. And he's gracious enough to come and join with us today and kind of pour into us some really good information that we should all take back and apply. So, Abdi, man, thank you so much for taking time here early on a Monday morning.
Appreciate you for having me. Appreciate you for having me. It's my honor to be here.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. So let's get into it, man. For those that aren't familiar with you and kind of your team, I mean, you guys have been featured on some big time publications, man. Business Insider, Time, Forbes, BET, PBS, New York Post. I mean, several of those. So let's go back a little bit, man. Tell us about yourself, Abdi, and kind of your journey to get to where you are today.
Yeah, so my journey started 3 years ago. When I first started, I was just, learning information, right? The first 3 months of my entrepreneurship, I really just invested in myself. I was just improving my mindset, my circle of friends, because transitioning from like not being an entrepreneur to entrepreneurship is not easy, especially people that was hanging out around me, right? So I was hanging around people that, weren't entrepreneurs because those were my normal friends, and I grew up with them and, we'd have fun, we'd go out and all these things. But then one day it really just hit me like, I'm doing the same thing over and over every day. My life is progressing. I'm not getting to the next level. So as I decided to just look up, I got hit by this ad as soon as I was thinking about that. I was talking about social media marketing, be your own boss, run your own company. And I was just like, whoa, this is the thing for me, So that's how initially my transition went. Then I came across this app that was called meetup.com.
Yeah,
and man, I was going to 3 to 4 networking events a week, just put myself out there. And then I started to improve my people skills, right? So as I was just talking, to people, my first couple of events, I was not comfortable. I was just shy, quiet, wouldn't feel comfortable. Then I was just shadowing everybody, what everybody was doing. People were shaking hands, talking to each other and things like that. Then I was like, I got to get out of my comfort zone. And slowly was getting out of my comfort zone. And that's when I transitioned and started my company. And it's a e-commerce marketing agency. We help companies grow online. We help companies scale. And our other division that we launched this year was the do-it-yourself side, where we have a program that allows you to help grow your own company. So that's really my transition.
Wow.
Entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Man, I love that, man. A few things stand out with what you said, Abdi, man. One, you started with mindset. Which you had to change your mindset and change your circle, right? Your environment. because you knew you wanted better for yourself. So you had the courage to do that. And I use that word courage pretty strong because that's what it takes, right? It takes the courage because it's not easy to transition away from an environment that you're comfortable with at the time, to now go in a different direction. But like I say, by knowing you want it better for yourself, you changed that environment, you adjusted and enhanced your mindset, and you got around the right type of people, right, that are doing or that are where you want to get to. Right. And so as basic as that sounds, and as much as we all hear that, I think we have to constantly be reminded of even just that one point that for many of you listening, and as you go into the next year, one of the things that you may have to do is adjust your mindset and adjust your the environment of the people that you're around, whether they're friends or family or just acquaintances. Kind of like you said, Abdi, man, you got to make that adjustment.
And it wasn't easy. Like I had like this was I was in college, but I had my good friends, and I didn't necessarily cut them off. I was just like I had to distance myself to work on myself, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's my decision. I have to be the one who makes the decision whether I want to change or not. You can't be on the fence. You have to really commit. And once I really made that commitment is when I started seeing the shift in my mindset. I started reading more books. I cut out listening to music and replaced it with listening to podcasts.
Yes.
I was listening to, audibles. I was reading books. I was listening to books. So my whole day consisted of consuming knowledge and improving my mindset, right? So I was just learning so much about myself and, discovering myself. And I think it was the most important stage of my life because I was going from and just a regular person to an official businessman and entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just hit on another gem, which is what you spent your time doing. So if you kind of set the stage for what you're sharing, which is really more powerful, I think, than maybe you even realize, Abdi, is you changed your mindset, you changed your environment. You're exactly right. It wasn't easy, right? I'm very familiar, and many people listening have had to do the same. But then what you started spending your time doing, and listen, MYB, listen to what Abdi's saying, because there's nothing wrong with entertaining yourself, right? So Netflix and all the streaming services and everything that's going around that we love to indulge in to entertain. But when you're on a different level of mission, you have to sometimes sacrifice maybe your entertainment, right, and the things that you're accustomed to go in that direction. One of the things when I talk to business owners or entrepreneurs, or like in my space in real estate, when people want to get in it because they see the glam, they see the results of what can come from the work, but they're not willing to sacrifice Netflix, right? So people that spend most of their time binge watching shows, and they know everything about what everybody's doing on every reality TV show, everything a celebrity's doing, they know about, right? They read about it. They don't even know where their own kids are, but then they know where so-and-so celebrities' kids are doing and all that type of thing. And so making that adjustment, I think, will help many people, down the line. Is, for people like you and I'm going to go out on a limb here, Abdi, you probably don't know where Kanye West is right this moment, I imagine.
No.
Right. But there are people, right, that want to get involved in business who follow that every move, who can tell you, hey, in 5 minutes, Kanye's going to be over here. But if you ask them, well, what do you want to do next for your business? They can't tell you,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what they spend their time consuming. So the fact that you were consuming knowledge, right, and you were humble enough, but then tenaciously focused enough to know that you want to do your own thing, but you want to learn from others.
Exactly.
So that's
and,
tremendous.
and what's important is you got to get rid of your ego, right? Because too often,
Right.
ego that, hey, I don't want to learn from such and such. Like, I don't want to. I already know it all. Like, there's nobody that knows everything, right?
Right.
Everyone in the
Nobody.
world could learn something from me, something from you, something like Warren Buffett could learn something from you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Learn something from me. So if you have the mindset of I know it all and there's nothing I could learn, like, because I got everything, you're really hindering yourself from growth.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And kind of along those lines, because Abdi, obviously you have your other co-founder, And that's something when you speak of not knowing it all. One of the things that always gets me with people when they're in business is they try to do it all themselves. They either don't have the people around them because they haven't changed their environment, or they don't trust people. They don't have that engagement, that trust to be able to, kind of partner together because a lot of people are kind of wounded animals in that they've had either bad experiences or they're control freaks. And so they want to be able to control and have it done their way. And they don't want to listen to anybody else's thoughts or, mindset around something or even, utilize someone else's strengths. They want it to all be them. They want to be able to get the glory. Do you find that with, some of maybe your, when you first start working with people that, sometimes that's a challenge?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, everybody kind of wants to be a leader, but not everybody is a leader, right?
Right.
So as a leader, you need to understand sometimes you have to play the back role and have to let some people be the best at what they do because
Right.
there's nobody that's good at everything.
Yep, exactly.
I started to identify what my skills were and my weaknesses were because I knew I wasn't good at everything. I knew I had weaknesses, right? So
Right.
I'm embracing and doubling down on my strengths and hiring and partnering up with people who are good at my weakness. Then we complete each other, because if I say I'm good at this and I'm good at that, that's just not true. Then I'm lying to myself, right? And I want to be in a position where I'm lying to myself because it's going to hinder me down the line, right? Because we're living the life that we live right now. It's just based off decisions we made 3 to 4 years ago. That's the life we're living right now. So it's just like that.
Yep, good point. You're right that the things that you've done in the immediate past, are what you're living today, and even more importantly, the things that you're doing right now are going to be paying dividends one way or the other here in the future. So planting the seeds now. Let's dive down that pathway because obviously coming into this year, Abdi, none of us knew this pandemic was going to hit. Right, this year has been a year that is challenged. And I've said this on other episodes. It's challenge in our name of our country. The very first word has been challenged, right? United, right? So the United in the United States of America has been challenged this year, right? Our ability to unite around even a pandemic, right, and try to keep it from being so politicized, right? The united around social injustice, and the impact on Black and brown people in this country has been challenged publicly in a much different form than maybe this generation has seen. And so, and then many other areas, obviously the economics that have come as a result of the pandemic has challenged that. And so, talk about that from your business's standpoint. What did you see kind of as the pandemic kind of came as an onslaught, and have you guys had to pivot much, or maybe the pandemic has added kind of an extra lane for you that you've been able to benefit from?
Yeah. So the pandemic has actually helped grow in our business, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, no.
One thing we were focused on going in 2019 was how do we make majority of our business online, right? So we started to see the trend of everything is going online. And most of 2019, towards that, like the last 6 months of 2019, we really didn't have any anything physical. Everything was online already, right?
Yeah.
One thing we started doing is once we launched our DIY side of our business, it really started to help a lot of people because they were able to afford to work with us that weren't being able to work with us before. So what we started to do was we just started to provide, we doubled down more on the value we're giving. We're giving out so much free value that in return, people were joining the do-it-yourself side of our business, which is our program. And it really helped a lot, right? And we were telling business owners the ones that had a physical retail store that didn't have their online side developed, they took a big hit, right? And things are never going to get back to how they were before. Moving forward,
Right.
Now we just seen there's companies like Twitter that want to work from home forever because they see how much money they save, how effective it is, and people still get the same the work still gets done, right? And that's
Right,
really
right,
the future and how the future is heading. So the best thing as an entrepreneur to have is being able to adapt very quick, right? So there's some people who adapted right away and they just rode the wave and they didn't get affected like that. But then there were those that were just waiting till it ended. It's about to be a year, right? So a year is
right,
a very long time to just wait
right.
for something to see if things just change. And I don't think it's going to get back to normal for a very, very long time still. So as an entrepreneur, that's the power that you need to have, is just being able to adapt to whatever happens at any situation, because all day we're dealing with so many different things and we're wearing so many different hats that sometimes you have to take a step back and just see the bigger picture. Okay, how do I adapt in order to scale right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And those are tremendous points, Abdi, when you talk about that ability to adapt and the ability to be agile, right? And not be dogmatic in your mindset, because you're right. There were the people that panicked, right? Initially when the pandemic came, there were the people that, like you say, and this is another kind of indictment somewhat on our country, is that there are people that just sit and wait, right? And they wait, oh, we're going to get a vaccine, right? And they think that's going to solve all the problem, that we're going to be able to get a vaccine out to 360 million people, like that, and in this country, and then it's all just going to go away, right? And we'll get back to, like you say, whatever normal was, all the things pre this year, right? Pre, the social justice or injustice, right? Pre the pandemic, where I can just go back to my rat race that I knew, right? Of just doing things, and then just for a lot of people, just existing and not really building and scaling and growing. And so um one of the challenges, you're right, this has changed things. I think for the foreseeable future for this generation. um I think getting back to how things, I agree with you. I don't think things ever get back to exactly how they were. I think the pandemic has progressed something that was already in motion, and that you and your team already saw, which is that not just things are going online, but how do you create experiences online, right? And then how do you make the end user interface very attractive and very easy to do business with, and that sort of thing. And so obviously it sounds like, and I've seen you guys have done that tremendously. Talk about the DIY kind of piece of your business. I'm intrigued by that, Abdi. How does that work, and what kind of position do I need to be in? Can I be just starting my business, where that sort of thing, or kind of unpack that for us?
So our program really allows you to go from point A all the way to Z, right? It's a walkthrough of exactly what you would work with us as an agency would be, pretty much. So most of the people that get into the program, they just know they want to start an online business and they see the future of online business, and they don't have an online business. So we start from scratch, and then there's group coaching and things like that. So what the program essentially solves is helping you understand how to really build your brand online, right? We focus on brand building and the experience of how to enhance the end user experience, because it's all about how do you get that person to buy. That's what it is, right? Because advertising is another big part that we teach too, because marketing is the heartbeat to every business, whether you like it or not. If you do not know how to market, or if you can't market your business, you can't get sales. That's 100% true. You could do everything. You could have the best processes, the best systems, the best this. If no one knows about you, no one's going to buy your product. That's just how it is, So that's what we really launched the program for, is to help people understand the importance of how to grow their business and build a brand online, not just their physical side of the business. And it's for anybody that's starting from scratch, or if you already have something present, we help you enhance it and grow it to the next level.
Yep, absolutely. And then obviously that includes social media. So I think many people are sometimes they get frustrated, right? Because, and I'll speak this, and I hope I'm not speaking out of school here, but many people fall into the vanity metrics of social media, that they want the likes, they want the followers, and they believe that as long as I get that follower number, like we talked earlier, kind of off. Kind of cycle about Clubhouse, and we'll get into that for a little bit. But I see it on Clubhouse already, that people get concerned about such vanity metrics, like, do I have more people following me than I'm following, right? How much, can I show that, people are following me so I can get access to the other benefits. Like for instance, on Instagram, how quick can I get to that 10,000 follower mark so that then I can do the swipe up thing or whatever in stories, so like I see people get caught up into so much of the vanity piece of it that they forget the value and to be able to connect with the heart of the person through stories, right? And through sharing the organic pieces of their business and their journey along their business. Speak to that a little bit about kind of that state of social media now and kind of what you guys do specifically, Abdi, to help all of us be just a little better with that.
Yeah. One thing you got to understand, never look at the numbers, right? Because even though someone could have 10,000 followers, that doesn't mean they know how to make money from those followers.
Right.
That's true. That have like 3 million followers, but they don't even know how to monetize off one customer.
And then 2 million of them are bots, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there's someone that only has 1,000 followers, but 100 people of those are buyers, right? So I never look at the numbers. I look at how engaged and how much you can relate with your audience to be able to make them buy, right?
Right.
We don't have a large following, but we have a community of people that always get our program, that work with us and all these things. And, some influencer I was just talking with a couple of days ago, she had like 5 million followers. And she's like, how do you guys do it? How are you guys able to sell? But I have way more followers than you. I'm like, it's not about the numbers of followers. It's what value are you able to provide to your followers to make them understand you're an expert in your field. Right?
Yeah.
I can't trust you and work with you if I can't believe you're an expert. If I think you're not better than me at something, you can help me get to my next destination. I can't part away from my money and pay you. All right.
Right.
So I always tell people, never focus on the numbers, focus on giving value. And that value is going to exchange into dollars later on. Once people see, okay, he knows what he's talking about. I've been following him for a minute. I think he can help me get to the next level. Let me just get into his program or whatever he has.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's one way, just to get your advice for this audience, Abdi, is one way just creating the content, right? The articles, appearing on podcasts, creating, some video content, like a lot of kind of like evergreen, kind of really organic content, diving into IG on the reels, posting so many times a day, that sort of thing. Is there kind of that regiment that we should all be doing to really help, showcase, in to your point, your level of knowledge and expertise and really honing in on, your passion, your purpose, and your why.
Yep.
To help drive it.
Yeah. So a couple of things. You should be posting content on your social media. We post the majority of our content on our main Team Top Figure page. And one thing we started doing was this year, we started posting these quotes, right? So we would tweet a quote, right? So we already put it on Twitter.
Yes.
And then we would take a screenshot of that and now post it on our Instagram.
Yes.
And Instagram is connected to our Facebook. So we posted on all 3 platforms with just one post, and then those quotes, people relate with it. So what people would do is they would share it and post us on their social medias.
Yeah.
What it does was we're getting free traffic from them without paying $1 for it, just because they relate with this quote. And people that follow them would click us and come follow us because of this quote. So that's one strategy we've been doing this year, and it's been working really well. It's increased our organic growth by over 15% this year, and it's been super good. Another thing you should be doing is how-to videos, right?
Yes.
How to do X amount, how to do this, whatever field you're in. People want to be educated and they want to follow you for a reason. There's those people that just follow, these Kim Kardashian and all that just because they look good, but they're not actually teaching them something. So how-to videos actually helps with people being able to believe you. He's really good at what he does. I didn't know this. I'm learning something new. Let me see if they provide a service or not. Yeah. Another thing you should be doing is collaborations, collaborating with other people in your industry. And videos and doing content and producing those content. Now, once you record a full lengthy video like you're about to do right now, you could chop it up into 1-minute clips, 2-minute clips. Lead them to another platform. Because the goal is, how do you have someone go from one social platform to another, right? For this podcast, Clubhouse, they can't DM me on Clubhouse. So they have to go from Clubhouse to Instagram and hit me up on Instagram. So they won't they'll never do that if I don't provide them value.
Yes.
You know, so
Yeah.
those are the things.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's how you and I got connected. So we're actually an example of what you just said, right? You were on stage, you were providing value to a group, and I reached out, via DM on Instagram. You were, gracious to respond and that sort of thing, and we kind of quickly engaged. And then, like I said, I issued the invite, and you were, quick to come on. So that's just kind of how it worked. And so, like you say, for me in that example, I was able to go from, like you say, the one platform on Clubhouse, because you had presented the value, that compelled me to go, well, let me see more about him. And so I go to Twitter, I go to Instagram, I start following, I start liking posts, I start engaging, you know what I mean? And so you and I just did that as an example.
Exactly.
And I think that's a model that many people can follow as we go into this next year is, get on a platform, offer quick value. Like I say, you offered a quick value right off the bat. That's compelling enough to then, get people to believe you, and go and want to learn more. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that learning more, it's like, hey man, it'd be great to talk to this brother. And so, that's how it goes, and, look to remain connected. But,
And I want to add on to that real quick. A lot of
yeah,
people think they're giving too much value. There's no such thing as you're giving too much
right.
value. I see too many people, well, I don't want to give my secrets. So there's no such thing as that, because if you show someone something and they go apply that and it gets them results, guess who they're going to come back to for more? You.
Right.
So I don't try to hold anything in saying like, oh, I'm sharing my secrets. This is too much I'm sharing. Just give value. And once people understand the information you're giving is actually legit and they test it themselves, they're going to come back to you and want to work with you.
Yeah. What I found, and this is something I started actually just yesterday, Abdi, as a test run, is I did a webinar yesterday. Shout out to everybody that joined the Real Estate Investing in 2021 webinar. But I did a webinar that, packed house on Zoom, right? I had one of my business partners that's up in Canada join me, who we do deals together. And, basically I gave away everything. I gave away the house. Here are the contracts that I use. Here's the calculator. I shared screen. I showed them how to do it. I sent it to them for free. Right. But, my call to action was obviously to text me at my community app number. Right. And using that as a hub, and then following me on social media. And then so, right after, I started getting DMs, I started getting, people emailing me, hey, enjoyed the webinar. Thank you for the tips. Can we schedule a one-on-one, all this type of thing. And so you're exactly right. I don't get into the piece of trying to monetize every single piece of content, right? Or being so close to the chest about it that, you see, in the past, I think what happened is, you get these coaches and these experts, right, that want to give away just a small nugget, and then they want to sell these big coaching programs. And you could tell me your thoughts on this. My thought on it, Addy, was, I don't want to make money off giving you the information. What I want to be able to do is partner and collaborate and be a resource for you. Because if I help you, it's that Zig Ziglar quote, if I help you get what you want, I'll always get what I want if I'm able to help. The more people that I'm able to help, the more I'll receive. And so that was kind of my mindset. So, I had some people come to me and say, well, wow, man, that's enough, man. That's a $5,000 course. That's a $10,000 course, because they don't really, they just throw out numbers from what they see other people do.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I want to do something different, and let me partner with people that are serious. And I'd rather, out of that big audience, I'd rather get 10 people that say, hey, I want to do this, let's go, and work with those people and partner together and drive our goals that way, than just getting a bunch of people that I'm selling $2,000 courses to or $3,000 courses to, that then if they're not able to generate success or ROI from that $2,000 investment in me, now they got buyer's remorse, they're concerned, that sort of thing. And I've seen guys have their reputations impacted, Abdi, from that. But what's kind of just your overall thoughts on that?
Yeah. Great point you mentioned there. It always depends on the industry, right? So
Yeah.
you're in the real estate industry, that's a great method. You can be partnering up with people on deals. You can be JV in deals. You can do things like that in your industry.
Yeah.
For instance, for our industry, it's a little different just because partnering up with people on different stores would just get a lot of hectic for us. It'd be running too much, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm more on the side of like, hey, we'll give you all the value you need, but if you want to get to the next level, we have a program that will walk
Yes.
you through that. You'll get access to us all the time, you know. So it all depends on what industry you're in. For your industry, totally makes sense because you partner with people that also got money. They'll put up money. You put up money. X amount. It's very valuable. You know, you can scale that. You know, for our industry, it's just a little different.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's a very fair point. Definitely for sure. So, talk a little bit about the podcast. Top Figure podcast. Tell us the premise of it, and obviously, it can be found MYB, and we're big supporters of other podcasts here at Abdi. So, in the show links, you can get a link, obviously, to topfigure.co. So that's topfigure.co. And then also get, from there, you can get access to the podcast. So I encourage everybody to subscribe to the podcast, Top Figure. Make sure you leave a 5-star written comment. Don't just click 5 stars and walk away. Listen to an episode or two or more, and then leave a positive 5-star written comment there on Apple or the other DSPs. But now go ahead.
Yeah, those 5 stars are super important to help everyone grow. So
Absolutely.
Well, we started the podcast around 2 years ago. You know, first we weren't taking it that serious, then slowly started to take it more serious. But it was a place of us really just sharing like things we know, sharing our failures, sharing the truth about entrepreneurship, and different things and different tactics you could do, So it was for entrepreneurs, and it was by entrepreneurs. So it was just a place of just raw and just honesty. And one thing we wanted to always do with our podcast is just how do we help X amount of people get to the next level with it? So that's what the podcast is about.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so I encourage everybody, thanks for that, Abdi. I encourage everybody to make sure you go check out the Top Figure podcast. Make sure you guys do that. When you get done listening to this one, go ahead and jump over. Just keep the train going. And make sure to add it to your repertoire. Because you remember what Abdi said early in the interview that listening, he exchanged, watching, Real Housewives of Atlanta for real information, right? So look to change your and there's nothing wrong with watching that, of course. I don't want them coming for me. Tune that is nothing wrong with the entertainment at all. But again, when you want to go on a train that's heading in a different direction, you got to get on that train, right? And so definitely do that. Abdi, I read an interesting article about you, man. Yeah, and you're there in the Minneapolis market, and I work a good bit in the Midwest and spend some time in Minneapolis as well. And this occurred. It's interesting. It occurred before the murder of George Floyd. That occurred this summer. That's right there in that market. You were involved, and some of your friends, and that sort of thing were involved in an incident at a gym where a white man was challenging, from what I understood, I guess your reason for being at the gym, or I don't want to mischaracterize it. So can you talk about that situation? Because I think it's interesting for someone that's successful like you all are, as well-spoken, men of ethnicity that are there patronizing a gym, just like anybody else, and to have to deal with the unfortunate stupidness of someone that's engulfed in their racism, I think is unfortunate, but it's a reality, as we all know, in this country, and has been since its inception. So talk about that situation and kind of the resolution that came from it.
So what happened was we were at a gym, and we got racially profiled for being in the gym. He was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing here? I need to see your key card," And then no, we don't have to show key cards to other tenants, So we said no, and he started arguing on us, and he started taking pictures of us, and we just recorded a video, just like, "Hey, look what's happening." And he said, "I'm gonna call 911 on you. Made that threat." In America, with what's going on and everything, like calling making that threat is a big threat,
Of course.
We should be taken lightly and things like that. So as soon as we heard that, then after everything got done, we went our separate ways, and we posted the video on just our social media platform. And we did not think it would go that crazy. So I went to bed that night. It probably had maybe like 1,000 likes, probably had 1,000 likes. I woke up
Yeah.
this morning, like my phone died because it was blowing up so much. But then
Yeah.
we had like CNN calling us, BBC calling us, like Shake
Yeah.
went up, like every publication wanted to post it, ABC, BBC, all the big stuff.
Right.
I was confused because I'm like, whoa, okay, how did it go viral? I didn't even know how it went viral, so it just went viral, went
Yeah.
everywhere.
People called it and just,
Yeah,
shared it around. Yeah.
it went everywhere, and then that's how we were able to do that's how we got connected with people over at Time. Even though it was a bad situation, some good things did come out of it. We did a documentary with Time Magazine and things like that. So it was one thing was we weren't gonna change our character and like act different and
Yeah.
like yell at him, cuss at him, punch him, the things he expected us to do. So I didn't
Right.
give him the weapons to use against us. So just
Yeah.
told ourselves, didn't really like do anything at the moment, just shared it on social media. And the guy was apparently like he was into VC, he was investing into people. So imagine how many people he turned away just because of their skin color.
Right. Yeah, which is extremely unfortunate. But shout out to you guys, man, for one, how you handled that. Right, you described, even in that situation where it's easy to let emotions get the better of you, right, and then create a situation where now it's bi-directional.
Yeah.
What you did was you kept all the foolishness on his side, right? Which is not an easy thing to do, right? It's when you're faced with that situation. For those that haven't been, it's easy to let your emotions kind of get the better of you, and kind of justify that, right? Because he's challenging you face to face, and he's making threats, of calling authorities with something where you guys have not done anything. No laws have been broken, right? And so that's for black and brown men and women in this country, that is a very hurtful threat to make, that has severe impact, or can have severe impact. And so, shout out again to you guys for, Abdi, for handling it that way and remaining, as calm as you could, right? And then having the foresight to be able to showcase that. So one, it helps others, right? So it solves a pain point in that people can see, one, how you guys handled it. So I don't want to miss this point, because I think sometimes this gets missed in these type of scenarios. Is it's not just the fact that it went viral, right? And you benefited from the viral nature of it. Bigger than that, and before that, and you may agree or not, but I think bigger than that was the fact that you gave a glimpse. It's the same thing that happened with the George Floyd situation, right? Where people were able to see this undeniable evidence, right? And so then you had people that are not of the culture who now say, wait a minute now, okay, yeah, we've been told all these different things, but now we get to watch this whole video, right, of what this police officer did. Now that's ridiculous, right? That shouldn't happen, right? So now you started getting people, like you say, being and not being afraid to be outwardly vocal about that and calling it what it is, right? And that's something that I think was a little different this year than in years past, certainly in our generation. But again, shout out to you guys, man, for doing that, because that's able to then, you probably don't even know people that you've inspired by sharing that, and other, parents, and other, black men, black women, and people of all races are able to see that and see how, you can diffuse a situation, a lot of times by how you handle it and how you respond. You guys were probably ready to respond physically if you needed to, right? If he posed that threat. But because it was just words and that sort of thing back and forth, you're able to kind of compartmentalize that. Like say, you had the video to capture it for your proof, right? So that's smart. But then you're able to utilize that for growth and education. And I think that point shouldn't be missed on that.
Exactly. No, appreciate you for pointing that part out, and it's super important to really understand the power we have. Right. Too often it's very easy to just not understand the power we have and the power of social media and holding your ground.
Yeah.
Understand you have a voice. I think
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, definitely shout out to you guys on that. We mentioned Clubhouse a little bit earlier, man, and you mentioned you've been on it about 2 weeks. I've been on it probably maybe just a little long, maybe about 3 weeks, where I was invited on it, and I wasn't completely active on it right away, and then I started to really see some value. So, where do you see the Clubhouse app? Currently, where do you see kind of your value and benefit, and then where do you maybe see opportunity? For the app to continue to progress and kind of grow.
Yeah. Well, Clubhouse is just pretty much the good thing about it. It's like a live podcast. I just think of it. It's just
Yeah.
the good thing that they have is they don't have any recordings, and I think if they add recordings, it's kind of gonna diminish the value of the app because the reason why people don't leave is they're like, if I miss this, I miss it.
Right. Right.
Right now, I'm missing information that I should be listening to on the app. So it's
Right.
that type of energy, and the thing is, it's connecting humans through audio, and audio is the future, right? Alexa and all these things, audio is the future. And one thing that I think they should be adding is the ability to add tips and things like that to people that are hosting like good rooms and things like that. And
Yeah.
another thing is if they should add like you can click like a link in bio, so like the clickable link, rather than saying go to .com.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I would add on to that, maybe having a short character written where it allows the audience to, and I think if you allow the moderator to control this, I think it would be powerful. Is that if you could have very short kind of text, right, where someone in the audience could say, either give some emojis and say, "Hey, love that." Hey, I don't necessarily agree. Like, almost kind of how we can do that on StreamYard where we can pop up comments and let them show. And they don't have to be, it doesn't have to be a permanent thing. Like maybe it could show for X amount of time and then it drops off. So it's not like you say, not recorded, none of that. But I think that would allow the audience to kind of jump in because oftentimes when you're moderating in a room and you get like a big audience, you miss the people that aren't, like on stage, right? In
Yeah.
Clubhouse. And so those folks could sit there for hours, right? And we'll get to that in just a second for that value. But, people can sit there for hours and you may miss someone that's either not a buddy or not like, someone that's got huge following, right? And name recognition that
Mm.
often ends up on stage. And so, of course, you've got the natural clout chasing, so to speak, of people that go and kind of pander to moderators or pander to the celebrity that's in the room. And I get that. That's natural for people to do, I guess. But yeah, I'm with you. I think there's, something that can really be built on with Clubhouse. And I'd love to get your thoughts on, the time that people spend, because you mentioned that. And so I've been amazed that like I'll be in a room, I'll go do other things, I'll go to bed for the night or whatever, and they're still on there.
Yeah.
Like
That's the part that has me a
that's
little
crazy.
confused too, because these people, right? If they're running like big successful companies, you can't be on Clubhouse for 15 hours if you're running.
Yeah, that's
It doesn't make sense. That's just not possible. Like I'd get maybe an hour a day, 2 hours max, but you can't
right.
Clubhouse 15 hours in a single day. And I'm seeing people on there 18 hours, things like that, and it's just you gotta control your time on there for sure.
Yeah, well, I think that, Abdi, so the people that are highly successful that in real life and they have systems in place, right, for their business. So their business typically runs without them.
Mm-hmm.
Those folks I definitely understand. So those are the folks that have either employees or they've got VAs or something like that. So some of those folks I could somewhat understand. And I think what they do is they remain on there, but they're not active, right?
Yeah.
So like they'll keep the app open and maybe they're listening, or they just keep it open and never leave the room, but they're not there, right? So like, like someone will call on them and they'll be like, oh, well, John's not here or Jane's not here or, Shamika's not here, whatever. And it could be that they've just gone on and did something, they just left it on, and they come back and jump back in whatever they want without leaving the room.
Yeah. I
So
didn't know.
maybe, so yeah, so I think there's some of that, but that's with moderators, right, Abdi? What's interesting is that people that don't have that level of business that are constantly taking notes, right? They're always there for the gyms and they're on there, like you say, 12, 13, 14 hours a day. but they don't leave themselves any time to actually go implement, right?
You can't
So,
you have to apply the knowledge, you know. If you're just soaking in all the knowledge and not applying it, then you're just kind of being entertained.
yeah, exactly. Well, it tickles that itch, right? To be able to just get knowledge, because then you can justify not taking action by constantly just amassing knowledge. So that's like people do that with college, right? There was a time where, despite all the issues with student lending, but if I want to avoid real life, I can just go back to school, right? And there's nothing wrong with doing that, but without a plan or a goal, it's just let me just go back to school so I can, live off the student loan money, right? And then I can always justify not taking action by always being in class, right? And at some point, you got to get out of class. Even for those that were once upon a time like lifelong students, Abney, where they just want to do that. At some point, you got to go apply, right? So I've been amazed at that, and I think it's changed the game to the point where now you've got Netflix and these other kind of DSPs that are coming in looking at audio, right? Because they're amazed because the whole thing with Spotify and all these folks is how can I get people using my app the longest?
Yeah.
Right. How can I keep them on there? And I think people are amazed. They thought video would do that, but video's done that to an extent. And this is what's impacting the music industry is that a song that's 3 or 4 minutes, you're kind of doing that here or there. You might listen to a playlist, but nothing like when you're going to spend double-digit hours in a day on one app. That's crazy.
I think Spotify is going to try to buy them out.
Oh yeah. So they're gonna line up and down the street to buy Clubhouse.
They're valued at $1 billion already or something like that. I heard some crazy number.
Oh really? I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I heard they evaluated something like by launch. Once they launch, they're gonna be like really like because they understood they broke something big. They broke something big here, and you mentioned is keeping people on for hours on one app, right? Especially once they launch, once they get advertising going in there, it's going to be ridiculous. Imagine if you can pick a room, right? And you know exactly what room it is and you just have an ad at the bottom. Imagine how many people are going to be clicking that,
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. Or even an audio ad. So there could be a room where now they maybe compensate a moderator or like someone they designate someone like an influencer, somewhat like the blue check, right?
Yeah.
And then that person then has an opportunity to monetize where they do some kind of revenue split with an ad, so they get AT&T right to wants to advertise on Clubhouse, which like I say makes total sense, right? So they get with say you and I, we've got a room, right? And they get with okay, Ron, Abdi, AT&T is going to pay us whatever amount, and we're going to cascade a certain percentage to you if you play this 15-second or 20-second commercial every hour or something like that, or twice an hour, whatever it is, right? And they may make that such that it's already like you don't have to necessarily do it yourself. Like once you're a moderator in the room or you own a room, they just basically, like you say, have a link to where like almost with a play button, where it's just like at some point you just click play and they're just tracking how many times you hit that, right? Exactly. And that's what they determine to actually maybe even compensate you. And so I think if they were doing that, I think that's really going to be the game changer because I'm just curious as to what their average time used for the app is.
Yeah, it has to be in hours for sure.
Oh yeah. I imagine it probably averages 3 hours. If you take all the however many million of people are on it now, and you average it out, it's probably about 3 hours, which is way more than Netflix, way more than Spotify, way more than Apple Music, way more than it blows everybody out the water.
It blows everybody out the water. They're ranked, I think, like number 4 on social apps.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I just checked today. They're ranked like number 4 or something.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy for an app that's. I don't know exactly when they started. I guess was it earlier this year or?
Yeah, they're not even public yet. So it's only invite only.
Right.
So and then that's I think another thing that makes it cool. Like you can't be on the app because people want something they can't have, right? So
it's exclusive, right?
Here and people are selling their invites. Hey, like I'm selling Clubhouse invites for $50. Hit me up.
Yeah, people are actually. So you see people like selling those invites, right? Because what's interesting is, I had a really good friend. She was wanting an invite in, and when I first got on, and I couldn't find like how to do that. I was looking all over the app. I was like, I don't see where I can invite you. And so then I kind of figured out that what they're doing is like periodically they'll just send me a notification saying, "Hey, you'll get credit to either let this person in." Or now you have one invite, or I think the other day they gave me three.
Mhm.
So now all of a sudden I had three invites to use, right? And it was crazy. So I mean, yeah, that's a really cool way for them to do that. Because like I said, I was looking all over the place, like, man, and I was telling her, I had her on speakerphone. I was like, I don't see where I can invite you. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, because it's limited now. That's the crazy thing about the app.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Abdi, as we wrap this up, man. What do you see for 2021? You tend to be you come off as a very kind of forward thinking, visionary guy.
Mhm.
Um, what do you see that we should be doing going into next year
Yeah.
with our businesses? What's one or two things that we should really be honing in on?
Um, One, build a email list. Start building a certain email list, and not just the email list. Also, start building a text list. Right.
Yes,
With community right now, it's very important to have a text list because how often do people check their emails compared to how often they check their text?
yes,
Big difference, right?
yeah,
So one thing you want to be knocking out is the communication with your end user, making that
yes,
process simpler. Have a lead magnet, right? So what we have is we have a free ebook we give people on how they could figure out what their product is and how they could improve their product. We give away a free ebook. In exchange, they give us their email,
yes,
and that's a lead magnet for us. And we probably generate anywhere 50 to 100 leads a day just from that, right? So we're collecting leads from that daily, and we can advertise to these people later on. Another thing is start building a community, right? Like you have the community here, start having your own
yes,
community. We have the top figure community. Start having your own community, whatever it is, whether it's single moms, whether it's moms that just had a baby, whatever it is, start building a community. That way, the moment you build a community and two people within that community work together, guess who the first person they're gonna think of when they're like, man, I'm glad we met through that community, man. We met through that. So you're always gonna have access to those people. We built the top figure community about 3 years ago now, and I can't tell you how many people built businesses together just through the community that worked
yeah,
together, that became best friends, that all this just through the community. And it's like it's not that hard building a community. You just have to provide value, give things, and also stay consistent on social media.
yes, yeah,
So, being an early adapter, like as we're on Clubhouse right now, Clubhouse is not normal like Instagram yet,
right,
probably next year, who knows how big it could be, right? We're early adopters. We're coming on early, a lot of people miss the wave of TikTok, they're like, nah, TikTok's not going to last. It's not going to go. If you have the mindset of thinking old and thinking like, oh, that's not going to work, that's not going to, you never
right,
adapt. The best thing we have as an entrepreneur is to be able to adapt, and
right,
work on your skills on social media, being able to post consistently, or if you can't, make sure you could hire a virtual assistant on Upwork for like $3 an hour, and they could be posting for you consistently, right?
yes,
So putting systems and processes like that in place, because social media is going to change the game going into 2021. Everything is going to be digital, making sure you have your products digitally so people can buy digitally, making
yes.
sure you're building that community, having an easy access to your end user. You get a lead magnet going so you can start getting leads, and then you can advertise to them later on.
Yeah, absolutely. No, great quick tips. Definitely. And I've actually incorporated this year text messaging big through the community app. And that's going extremely well for me because people, they check the text message. I mean, a lot of people get their email to their phone, but it's nothing like the notification they get for a text message. They do look at that, and they do tend to be more apt to engage there than any medium that I've ever used, even, like you say, with email. So, like you say, building those lists, adding value, and connecting with people, that's the name of the game. Abdi Hassan is our guest today with Top Figure. Make sure you go to topfigure.co, topfigure.co. That's in the show notes. Make sure you connect there. Connect with them on social media. Again, all the links are there in the show notes for you to be able to do so. And then again, make sure that you listen to the podcast, Top Figure Podcast, and make sure you engage with a 5-star written comment. Make sure you do that for us, and we will greatly appreciate that. Abdi, listen, man, I've taken way more time than I intended to, man, but this has been a tremendous dialogue, brother.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you for having me.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Shout out to your co-founder, man, and everybody there on your team. Best wishes going into 2021, man, and let's remain connected, man. I love what you're doing, and if you see where I can add value in something that you're doing, don't hesitate, man. Reach out to me.
For sure, I'm gonna reach out about that real estate thing for sure.
Yeah, definitely do that. Let's do that. Definitely, man. Abdi Hassan, our guest today, MYB. Just tremendous dialogue, a lot of knowledge, a lot of great content. But reach out to them. Go to topfigure.co and just peruse their website and reach out. And if you do decide to reach out, let Abdi and his team know that you heard him right here on the Minding Your Business podcast. Speaking of text messaging, what Abdi mentioned earlier, you can text me. Let's connect on the community app. 312-847-4071. I send out, just some basic quotes, nothing spammy, nothing BS or anything of that nature. I don't like that myself, so I don't like sending it out. But 312-847-4071. Let's connect. I'll send you, actually, if you're interested in real estate, I'll send you my free calculator that I use to make offers. I created it myself, so I have a little bit of pride of ownership in that I created myself, but it helps me with doing deals. It's what I use to do deals, okay, and to help solve problems. And so I'll send that to you for free. 312-847-4071. And don't forget to connect with me at champronbrooks.com. champronbrooks.com. Listen, we're going to get out of here. 3 things that unite us, no matter where you're from, no matter what side of the tracks, no matter what you're engaged in. 3 things unite us. We all want to be a little better for ourselves, a little better for our families, and a little better for our communities. And if we can do that and remember that with everybody that we engage in, we'll all collectively make this place just a little bit better. All right. Take care. We'll catch you on the next episode. Champ Ron, the Minding Your Business podcast.